Hi guys. I'm Andrew from Room Cellars. I'm really honored to be on this panel. So first, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about me and my company, War Room, and then we'll go into thank you. We'll go into some of the transactions that we've done with specific focus on Bonny Doon Vineyard. All roads lead to Rhone, and then I have some predictions to make for the future. So if I That's me. I'm a slocal. That's me. Graduated from Cal Poly. Studied under Professor Keith Patterson. This is my very first alcohol production with my brother. R&C Burger Brew. There were 200 people at a wedding. Here's my first wine job. 2007 at Edna Valley, and then I was the night brewer at the Firestone Brewery, the 9 to 5:30 shift. I went to Greece and made Retsina. Really got the marketing bug from Christian TG at Four Vines and the Zin Bitches, the crazy wine club. And then I moved up to Napa Sonoma. That's me driving a Palanque harvester. I got really into the grower relations side and the vineyard management side. What goes into growing a grape for George de la Tour, $100 bottle, versus the $9.99 BV Coastal. That was really fascinating for me. I was one of the original partners of the Tooth and Nail Winery and Rabble. I liked that call out. I moved back from Napa, although I had a very poor exit. For those of you who know me well, this is the day after I've been fired with my beautiful wife here. You could just see the look in my eyes. Look at that look. Remember that, babe? Okay, so in January 2nd on 2018, I started War Room Cellars. We're all for wine, wine for all. And our mission is to create a 1 million case wine brand, which I know sounds lofty, but I really like those big, audacious goals. So how are we going to do that? These are my partners, older and wiser than I am. Okay, so what is War Room? We're a producer of wine. We don't own any vineyards. We don't own any wineries. We make wine predominantly at 3 facilities on the Central Coast, one in Edna Valley, one in King City, and one in Lockwood. We also process some fruit in Lodi. We do a little bit in Washington, but predominantly on the Central Coast. Those are our 3. So we're big on low overhead. We don't own a vineyard. We buy grapes from all over the state. We do production contracts, and then we also buy bulk wine. Our focus is in acquiring heritage wine brands and then really zooming in on what customers love about that brand. And it's totally different on each brand, but this is going to be a theme as we go through some of these acquisitions. We did about a little over 200,000 cases last year, much of which was done through organic growth. So we're ways away from our 1 million case goal, but we will get there. Okay, so our first acquisition was Lapis Luna. This was a 20-year-old wine brand, and it was about 3,000 cases. We found that customers thought that Lapis Luna meant Blue Moon, and I was fresh off of the Disorderly Mob pushing the public to think different, so wanted to do something much more inspirational. So Lapis Luna is about reaching for the moon. This is a $14, $15 price point, predominantly North Coast and Lodi. But our most noteworthy and recognized brand is certainly Bonny Doon. So in December of 2019, we acquired the iconic Bonny Doon Vineyard with industry treasure Randall Graham. And I'd learned about Randall in school with Professor Keith Patterson and AMSPatch, so it was surreal for me to be on the acquiring side of this brand. There were 3 main things that we really tried to focus on with this acquisition, post-acquisition. The first was SKU focus. Take a guess as to how many SKUs Bonny Doon had when we acquired it. Go ahead, shout out a number. Did somebody say 100? It was closer to 200 SKUs. So there's a lot of them. And we went down to 4 SKUs, 4 wines, 1 price point under the slogan. I'm really big on slogans if you can't tell. Reach for the moon. Under the slogan, all roads lead to Rhone. This was, if for those of you who don't know Randall, he's a very iconic, charismatic industry leader. So that was the first thing. We have to bring SKU focus. The second was we have to make sure that the customer base, particularly the distribution network, but all the way to the end user, trusts that we will continue on with this wine quality and with this wine style. And that proved to be really rooted in the grape sourcing. So we signed some exciting vineyard contracts for Claret Blanche and Vermentino and varieties that I'd never heard of from Randall, making sure that we could really root it in that quality. And then the second was really stewarding in Randall's legacy, making sure that he continued. There's my son pointing out Bonny Doon in Whole Foods. We have another brand in Paso, and this is a heritage brand, but it didn't have distribution. This was a brand started by William Grant and Sons. It's the Big Red Monster, and essentially this was a trademark that one of our sales partners wanted us to revitalize. You can see the previous label there, and then when we relaunched with the slogan of Slay It. This is a non-vintage Paso Cabernet that we blend Keynote and Petit Syrah into, and a non-vintage Paso Robles Zinfandel that we're also blending Keynote. I really like Keynote as a blender, and Petit Verdot. So, and then here's some of our other brands. We're really focused on targeting a very specific customer base with each brand and then delighting that customer. So while we don't own, that's the Hallmark channel up in the corner there, we make the wines for the Hallmark channel. There's a Washington brand there, Skyfall. We have a wine seltzer called Bubble Butt, which is delightful, but our focus is really on finding that customer base and then leaning in specific to what they want and just delighting them. Okay, so my recommendation to you guys, to the winery brand owners, is the riches are in the niches. So being very focused on identifying your customer base, and I've put a couple up here. One, I thought that the O'Neill acquisition of Robert Hall and then Rabble was brilliant in terms of the same appellation, but two totally different customer bases. Robert Hall, the good life, well distinguished, or well earned, I believe, a great slogan, and then the disorderly mob. Same appellation, but two totally different customer bases. I've got Booker on there, Chronic, the Letitia acquisition of Bubbles, very specific customer bases. So, the future, it's counting down. What is the future? What's in the future? I think that we're going to see brands really focused on defining their customer base and as specific as possible. So, to bring value to you guys, if I could be so bold, I would say really think about, by brand, who is your customer, what flavor profile, what are they into, who are they? When I worked at Diageo, we would even name the customer, which I thought was bizarre. You'd basically apply a name to the whole consumer base. But I think it's a really good exercise. Two is I think particularly we're much more focused on margin now than on growth. And that could be the pandemic just really freaked me out. I thought we were so focused on growth, and that really made me focus on profitability. So I want to call that out. And then the third thing is direct to consumer and e-commerce. This is something that we're particularly focused on the Central Coast, kind of piggybacking on the other panelists. We're going to open up a tasting room. We're really focused on acquisition in the DTC and e-commerce space. And then I'll end it with a Winston Churchill quote, because we are the war room. So success is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. Thanks so much for having me, guys.